But let's just talk about Kamala today, guys. I want to talk about Kamala just today. So the first news article I want to read, New York Times. I was a pain to get this going because it wanted me to pay, but I kept clicking around and then it let me skip forward. So let's see. I just want to highlight a few things in this article. Time after time, when progressives urged her to embrace criminal justice reforms as a district attorney, and then the state's attorney general, Miss Harris opposed them or stayed silent. Most troubling, Miss Harris fought tooth and nail to uphold wrongful convictions that had been secured through official misconduct that included evidence tampering, false testimony, and the suppression of crucial information by prosecutors. Consider her record as San Francisco's district attorney from 2004 to 2011. Ms. Harris was criticized in 2010 for withholding information about a police lab technician who had been accused of intentionally sabotaging her work and stealing drugs from the lab. After a memo surfaced showing that Ms. Harris's deputies knew about the technician's wrongdoing and recent conviction, but failed to alert defense lawyers, a judge condemned Ms. Harris's indifference to the systemic violation of the defendant's constitutional rights. Ms. Harris contested the ruling by arguing that the judge, whose husband was a defense attorney and had spoken publicly about the importance of disclosing evidence, had a conflict of interest. Ms. Harris lost. More than 600 cases handled by the corrupt technician were dismissed. So that's one thing from this article. Next thing, this is absolutely disgusting. Ms. Harris also championed state legislation under which parents whose children were found to be habitually truant in elementary school could be prosecuted despite concerns that it would disproportionately affect low-income people of color. So basically, like, who is this gonna punish, man, if your kids are truancy, okay? Working class people, single parents, working 2 to 3 jobs, they've got one kid, multiple kids, you know, those kids are gonna be late to school, they're gonna be missing school. Not to mention kids with medical issues, parents with medical issues. This is absolutely a disaster. And I've got a separate article for this coming up. And from this article, I also want to read. In 2014, she declined to take a position on Prop 47, a ballot initiative approved by voters that reduced certain low-level felonies to misdemeanors. She laughed that year when a reporter asked if she would support the legalization of marijuana for recreational use. Ms. Harris finally reversed course in 2018, long after public opinion had shifted on the topic. And okay, so I got this clip here.
For her position.
So in 2014, there was like a Republican who was like, "Yeah, I'll legalize marijuana," and this guy, this reporter approaches her about this topic. So check this out.
On this controversial issue, your opponent, Ron Gold, has said that he is for the legalization of marijuana recreationally. Your thoughts on that?
That he's entitled to his opinion.
How can she be a horrible politician? Like, at least lie your ass off or something. Like, how can you not be ready for this question? I'm saying, oh, I'll look into it or something, but no, she just laughs it off, dude. Like, that says a lot about her right there. And then where was that damn... Since we're on the topic of marijuana. So this is her on the Jimmy Kimmel show, I believe. Harris repeated her newfound position that marijuana users should not be prosecuted and sent to jail. She I quote, "Look, I think we both agree people shouldn't have to go to jail for smoking weed. However, as a district attorney in San Francisco, Harris prosecuted more than 1,900 marijuana convictions." So, my cat's crying over there. So, and all right, let's continue this New York Times article. So, she's California's top cop. That's what she. Yeah, I should save the cat, but Kamala Harris, guys, she is like the most pro-cop politician like ever, man. So 2015, she opposed a bill requiring her office to investigate shootings involving officers, and she refused to support statewide standards regulating the use of body-worn cameras by police officers. This is like something super easy to do, man, but she's protecting the police. Definitely infuriated Democratic state senators, the ACLU, and San Francisco's elected public defender. And activist Felicia Jones, who had supported Ms. Harris for years, asked how many more people need to die before she steps in. I'm sure she's drunk when she appears on Canadian news. Dude, I've seen a video of some interviews, man. She looks wasted. She's got a big ego, man. Worst of all, though, okay, Miss Harris's record in wrongful conviction cases considered George Gage, an electrician with no criminal record who was charged in 1999 with sexually abusing his stepdaughter, who reported the allegation years later. The case largely hinged on the stepdaughter's testimony, and Mr. Gage was convicted afterward. The judge discovered that the prosecutor had unlawfully held back potentially exculpatory evidence, including medical reports indicating that the stepdaughter had been repeatedly untruthful with law enforcement. Her mother even described her as a pathological liar who lives her lies. Yes, she did, Patrick's. In 2015, when the case reached the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit in San Fran, Ms. Harris's prosecutors defended the conviction. They pointed out that Mr. Gage, while forced to act on it as his own lawyer, had not properly raised the legal issue in the lower court. So some technicality bullshit, man. Hey, Uchi, welcome in. The appellate judges acknowledged this impediment and sent the case to mediation, a clear signal for Ms. Harris to dismiss the case. When she refused to budge, the court upheld the conviction on that technicality. Mr. Gage is still in prison, serving a 70-year sentence. Here's another one. Ms. Harris also fought to keep Daniel Larson in prison on a 28-year-to-life sentence for possession of a concealed weapon, even though his trial lawyer was incompetent and there was compelling evidence of his innocence. Relying on a technicality again, Ms. Harris argued that Mr. Larson failed to raise his legal arguments in a timely fashion. This time, she lost. Another one, Kevin Cooper. This is a big one. Death row inmate whose trial was infected by racism and corruption. He sought advanced DNA testing to prove his innocence, but Ms. Harris opposed it. After this New York Times expose of the case went viral, she reversed her position. No. Boo! Boo! Oh god, the cat's still crying. I think that's all I want to read from this article. All too often, she was on the wrong side of that history. She wants people locked up, dude. That's what that's her game. So, another great article, guys, from the Washington Examiner. 5 times prosecutor Kamala Harris got the wrong guy. Faced a lot of criminal criticism here. What's the one I want to read? Alright. Kamala Harris was district attorney of San Fran in February 2010 when 29-year-old Jamal Truelove, a former reality star and aspiring hip-hop artist, was convicted of murdering 28-year-old Seu Kuka, based on the testimony of a lone witness. After Truelove was sentenced to 50 years in prison, Harris praised the brave eyewitness for the conviction, but failed to mention that the woman had been paid over $60,000 by the prosecution and given new housing under the Witness Protection Program. Got a piece of pepper in my throat. An appeals court later overturned the verdict after finding that prosecutors working under Harris at the district attorney's office misrepresented the witness to the jury. In March, Truelove was awarded a $13 million settlement from the city due to allegations of police misconduct, including manipulating the witness and fabricating the evidence. George Gage, we talked about that one. There's she fought compensation for a wrongfully convicted gang shooter. I'll let you can look up this article there. Her office sought to retry a man who'd been set up by the police. She fought to keep a misidentified neo-Nazi in prison after his case was tossed. I'll let you guys look up this article for yourselves. I just played this one. Oh yeah, so this is hilarious. Kamala Harris shamed by Jamaican father over pot smoking joke. Her own father. This is freaking hilarious. Kamala Harris made headlines in 2019 when she joked in a radio interview that of course she smoked marijuana in her young years. Half my family is from Jamaica. Are you kidding me? I quote. But the crack didn't go well over with at least one Jamaican, Donald Harris, her father. The elder Harris sent an unsolicited statement to Kingston-based Jamaica Global Online, for which the emeritus professor of economics at Stanford University wrote a recent essay on his family's history. Quote, my dear departed grandmothers, whose extraordinary legacy I describe in a recent essay on this website, as well as my deceased parents, must be turning in the grave right now to see their family's name, reputation, and proud Jamaican identity being connected in any way, jokingly or not, with the fraudulent stereotype of a pot-smoking joy seeker in the pursuit of identity politics, he wrote. Speaking for myself and my immediate Jamaican family, we wish to categorically disassociate ourselves from this travesty. Kamala Harris's campaign had no comment. Dude. Dude. The sad stuff. And then this is from NPR. This goes more in depth about her truancy program. She basically wants to lock parents up if their kids are like late to school, skipping school, truancy, you know. The truancy program that she pushed for in the state legislature passed in 2011. The law allowed district attorneys to charge parents with a misdemeanor if their children miss 10% of the school year without a valid reason. And then they interviewed, let's see, Cherie Peoples. Her daughter has a chronic illness. She has sickle cell anemia, a really painful genetic disease that causes lots of complications. It's pretty typical for people who live with this disability to miss a lot of school if they are children, as her daughter missed a lot of school for valid medical reasons. Cherie and the school were in a dispute about how to accommodate and account for those absences. So, and let's see it. Police showed up and handcuffed her, and then they took her out of her apartment, right? There was news cameras waiting. She was booked by the police. You'd swear that I'd killed somebody, she says. It felt to her like a really excessive show of force, so it was essentially a misunderstanding between her and her child's school. So, again, this article is pretty long, but you guys get the picture, okay? Kamala Harris, well, she will do anything and everything to lock working class people up. That's been her whole game as district attorney and attorney general and vice president. Biden-Harris administration, they are militarizing the police. Obama and Biden did it for 8 years. So, I just can't see how you can vote for her, guys. I mean, you can't say Black Lives Matter if you're going to vote for Kamala Harris, because she does not care about police brutality. She's not going to defund the police. She's not even going to, I say abolish the police, period. But she's not even going to defund the police. She's going to arm them to the teeth and fund the crap out of them. So, that's my thoughts on that. I already said she prosecuted more than 19 marijuana convictions. Also, okay, prison labor. Prison labor. This is also from the Washington Examiner. Kamala Harris' office sought to keep inmates locked up so that California could use them for cheap labor. I believe it's $2 an hour. Lawyers under the oversight of then Attorney General of California Kamala Harris argued in 2014 against the release of nonviolent criminals. They're nonviolent because they wanted to keep them for cheap labor. Extending 2-for-1 credits to all minimum custody inmates at this time would severely impact fire camp participation, a dangerous outcome while California is in the middle of a difficult fire season and feared drought. Lawyers from Harris's office were notifying. Bullshit. That's an excuse. That is an excuse. As overcrowding persisted, a 3-judge panel in California ordered the state to make eligible for parole non-violent prisoners with only 2 felonies that had served half their sentences. Harris's lawyers argued early release would harm the prison's labor program. Bam. Which included its work program to help fight California wildfires. The judges rejected the argument. Hey man, even if they're fighting California's wildfires, I mean, being a firefighter is a tough job, dude. You're getting paid $2 an hour for that? Come on. So, yeah. Pro prison labor, which probably means she's pro private prison. So, I just want to say, shout out Real.orl, Real Orlando. Revolutionary Education Action League based in Florida. They have a great Instagram page. And I got a few tips on where to look up these articles from them. So there you go, guys. Kamala Harris is complicit in the genocide that's happening in Palestine right now. And she's going right along with Biden, giving Israel everything they can to mass murder, wipe out Palestinians from the face of the earth. There is no ifs, ands, buts about it. Okay, so yeah, I think that's about that for the news segment, okay? So, Kamala Harris, Kamala Harris, absolute trash human being, trash politician, trash candidate, whatever, so...